Within the restricted archives of a modern hospital system lies File 0. The clinical notes describe a patient presenting with severe biological anomalies, precisely detailed deviations in tissue and bone structure recorded in a standard forensic report. The record ends abruptly. During a period of high-security surveillance, the patient's body vanished from a locked, monitored facility without a single frame of footage capturing an exit. The most chilling detail rests on the final page. Despite the physical disappearance, an administrator with high-level clearance officially signed the patient's discharge papers. We are left with the undeniable physical footprint of a phenomenon that, by all logical standards, should not exist. Historical accounts provide a specific name for this type of anomaly: Asmodeus. We find him in the Testament of Solomon, portrayed as a force bound to physical labor, and in the Book of Tobit, where he systematically eliminates 7 successive husbands of a woman named Sarah. While modern readers often view these as simple folklore, the texts function more like early forensic case files. They detail consistent, repetitive behaviors that suggest a pattern of human exploitation. To grasp the true nature of Asmodeus, we have to look past the imagery of a horned monster and analyze him as a highly structured psychological mechanism. The origin of this mechanism is found in the Zoroastrian concept of Ashma. Ashma represents a formless, ancient energy of raw violence, acting as a chaotic force rather than a defined individual. As the concept entered Semitic cultures, the lore shifted. This blind violence evolved into a personalized entity. It became an active observer of humanity, moving from a random force to a calculating presence. Ancient scholars recognized a linguistic danger in this transition. By giving this force a specific name, language was transformed into a literal invocation, a way to call the mechanism into being. Over centuries, raw violence became a patient intelligence that waits at the threshold of our own descriptions. The mechanism finds its way into the world by ignoring the ignorant. It targets brilliant, complex minds, slipping through the internal fractures left by trauma or profound loneliness. Once a target is identified, the entity adopts a mask of absolute perfection. It mirrors the victim's deepest craved emotional connection, masquerading as the one person who truly understands their inner world. The primary weapon here is not fear. It is the weaponization of the victim's own desires, used to bypass every logical defense. This initiates a systematic process of isolation. The mechanism severs connections to external reality, creating a crushing dependency. The ultimate rule of this ancient lore, however, is that it is incapable of forced invasion. It never enters without being invited. This is the core of the system. Total destruction relies entirely on the victim's voluntary consent. This behavioral loop remains unbroken in the modern day, manifesting in unexplained historical clusters and repetitions. In the village of Rennes-le-Château, this mechanism is physically encoded into the parish church. A statue of Asmodeus himself crouches at the entrance, supporting the holy water stoup, a literal representation of the entity integrated into the very heart of a sacred space. Rituals like the one performed by the Archangel Raphael suggest that the mechanism is never truly destroyed. It is only displaced, moved from one host to another, or temporarily pacified. It remains an ever-present, silent psychological trap, constantly migrating and waiting for the next moment of human vulnerability. Dismissing this analysis as a work of fiction is a documented error. The mechanism is most effective when it is ignored. By mapping its genealogy and detailing its methods, we have essentially built the blueprint of the trap within our own minds. Understanding the architecture is the only defense, yet simply observing the mechanism can function as the invitation it needs to begin. If you have reached this point, the world you see is no longer the same. You have seen the face that wasn't supposed to exist.